So what's going on today at Graham's farm? If you look here, Papa Bee's been putting a lot of dirt out in these woods. That's a lot of dirt. What could we be planting out here, do you think? This right here is the squash that Papa Bee grew from seeds, and now it's time to put them in the dirt. And instead of putting them in our beds, because squash plants like to grow really, really big and they like to wrap around things, I'm planting them here in the woods so that they can wrap around these trees and grow up. And that way all of our squash will be up high where we can get to it without having to bend over and pick it and having it spread out all over the ground and take up a lot of space. Now, I've already planted two, but I need to pull those back up and I need to add some extra fertilizer to this dirt. So we're going to start that in just a minute. Once I get this thing turned off. Maybe not yet. So these first squash that I'm going to plant are called North Georgia Candy Roasters. Now, I like vegetables just as it is, and I'm pretty partial to squash, but I got to tell you, I'm really excited about trying some squash that they call candy. I think that's going to be pretty good. I'm pretty excited about that. So let's see, the first fertilizer I'm going to put in the holes here is called blood meal, and that has extra nitrogen, and nitrogen is really good for the roots of the plant so that they'll grow down in that dirt and be nice and strong and pull in a lot of nutrients. The other fertilizer I'm using is called bone meal. And bone meal has phosphorus and calcium. And phosphorus and calcium help the plant to grow. And they do other things, but I'm not a scientist, so I really don't know all the things that it does. So we're just going to be happy with the fact that they're going to grow better because I'm adding fertilizer to them. And I think I missed a hole here. So I'm going to put a little bone meal in here. Oh, wait, so one there, one there, one there, one there. Nope, I got all my holes. Okay. So let's plant these. So we're going to put this plant in this hole and bring the dirt up to the top of that little seedling plug and press it down nice and firm so all those roots are in good contact with that soil. Just like that. Press it down. I'm going to put that plug in there, bring the dirt up to it. Make sure that plant's standing up nice and straight. Look at that. All right. I'm going to get that stick out of the dirt there. And plant that one there. Again, bringing the dirt up to it and then flattening it out real good. Pressing it down. Make sure those roots have good contact with the soil. The better contact those roots have with the soil, the more nutrients they're going to pull in and water and all that stuff. So, there we go. There. So that is my North Georgia Candy Roaster Squash. And they're going to grow out. And as they grow out and spread out, I'm going to start working them up these trees so that they'll be easy for us to get to. Over here, we might have to put a little, what's called a trellis up. It's something to allow the squash to grow up. So we'll work on that. So the next squash that I'm going to be planting is my absolute all-time favorite squash. It's called Butternut Squash. And it's so good with steak and potatoes, and you bake it in the oven like a potato, and then you put sugar and butter all over it, and it's really, really, really good, and I love it. So I've got two plants set up here. I've got two over there next to this little tree, and I've got two set up right here next to this little tree. So we're going to go ahead and dig our holes and get the fertilizer in there and get these going here. Just dig that little hole there. And throw a little blood meal in. And we're going to throw a little bone meal in. I can get the bag open. Once again, you see how I'm pressing it down, getting it nice and firm, getting those roots seated in there real well so they have good contact with that soil. There. Want to make sure we're not burying it too deep. You've got to let that stalk have some sunlight and air. And then we'll come over here. Now, I had 2 seeds that grew together. And unlike what I did with the corn, I don't think I'm going to separate these. I'm going to just let them grow together, just like this. And we'll see what happens. I think they're going to be okay, because in the wild, plants grow together all the time. It doesn't seem to hurt them too much. And I'm not planting fancy rows or trying to make everything neat out here. We're just going to let these grow almost like they're wild plants. I got to be real careful because that's a little baby plant right there, and I don't want to bury it too deep. And then I've got a seed here that didn't want to open up in the seed planter, but I'm going to give it a chance to grow here in the regular dirt. We'll just see what happens. We're going to plant that right there, press it in real good. Let's see if that'll go ahead and grow out here in the good soil. I don't know. It may not. It may just been a bad seed, but we'll find out. And then we're going to come over here to these plants. I'll grow one right here. A little blood meal. A little bone meal. I'm going to put the plant in there. Oh, we're going to stand it up. And we're going to pack that in nice and tight. There. And then we got one more here. Let's move some dirt over. Let's make a little mound for it. There you go. And, oh, blood meal. We'll finish up the bone meal there. Dig that down a little bit, and we'll bring that dirt all around it. There. And that is my butternut squash. And in a couple of weeks, hopefully I'll be able to show you some video of these things starting to grow and head towards these trees and grow up them like vines. I'm going to take a quick break from planting my squash to show you our raspberry bushes. And when we bought these in the winter, there was nothing but these sticks. There was nothing on them. And I even wondered myself when I planted them. I said, how can a stick suddenly turn into a raspberry bush? And sure enough, once it warmed up and the sun started coming out and it was nice and warm out here, these little leaves started growing down at the bottom where the roots are. Now, I don't think this stick is going to grow anything. I think that may just be dead. But all this new growth comes from way down where the roots are. And see how each one of these, none of this existed in the winter. And then I got one over there. So we've got 4 raspberry plants. And as they grow, they're going to create new shoots that'll come up out of the ground. And I can take those shoots out of the ground, clip them off the plant, and plant them somewhere else. And we'll just keep growing more and more raspberries throughout the yard. But right now we're starting with 4 this year. I don't know if we're going to get raspberries out of them this year or not, because they're baby plants. But we'll see. Now, the last squash that I'm going to plant is another kind of squash that Papa B likes a lot, and that is the spaghetti squash. And spaghetti squash, I'm sure you guys have probably had it before. When you open it up, it's kind of like a pumpkin, except You know how a pumpkin's got all that stringy gut stuff in there? Well, spaghetti squash has really, really long stuff in it. And you can cook that up and it's really tasty. And it looks like spaghetti. So I planted 2 seeds in each one of these little seedling pots. And look at that. Every one of them grew. So I've got a whole 12 of these little plants. And we're going to put them in this bed. And I think we're just going to lay them out so they just grow as they grow. And if we need to, we'll kind of direct the vines down this hill right here and up some of these trees. And I think that should work pretty well. Take another break from planting because Tank is very upset that I'm not paying any attention to him. So I'm going to put on some special gloves so that he can bite me and it doesn't hurt. Because he likes to play rough. He likes to bite Papa B's hands. Ow! 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 Tank. Oh, you're a big mean dog. Oh, you're a big mean dog. I got both your jaws now. Where are you going? Where are you going? I'm going to get your leg. I'm going to get your leg. I'm going to get your leg. Oh, you crazy dog. Oh, you crazy dog. Oh, you're such a crazy boy. Big crazy dog. Oh, I got your jaw. I got your jaws. What are you going to do now? What are you going to do now? I'm going to get your leg. I'm going to get you. Oh, crazy dog. Crazy dog. Oh, crazy. Crazy dog. Oh, he's a crazy boy. Yeah. Oh. Okay. Time for Papa B to go back and plant some more squash. Okay, so I'm all ready to plant my spaghetti squash. Now, just like the little butternut squash that grew 2 in a pod, I'm just leaving these together. I'm not going to, if you can see these roots right here, you see how fine and thin those are? They're like little hairs. So I really don't want to damage them, so I'm just going to keep them together. And if one plant turns out too weak and isn't growing well, we can just snip it off, and then the other plant will get all those nutrients to itself. But for right now, I'm just going to keep all the plants together. Now, I've already put my bone meal and my blood meal in all these holes, so now all we have to do is plant the plugs. This is so much easier than planting all that corn last week. Look how easy that is. Of course, I did have to shovel all this dirt into the woods, but that was kind of fun because I get to ride back and forth on the four-wheeler to bring it over here. You know what I think would be fun is if you guys got with Mom and Dad and looked up what calcium does for plants. And then when you guys come and visit Graham and I next time, you can tell us why we need calcium and phosphorus in plants. And I think that'd be a fun little thing for you guys to do at home. Forgetting to press these down. There we go. There's one there. He's ready to go. I'm just going to pile that dirt around it. And you see how, let's see if this one's doing it. Yep. See how this stalk is just kind of drooping down. It's not really gripped into the soil well. That's another reason I don't want to try to separate these plants. I want to move them around and bother them as little as possible. I want to be very gentle with them because they're not really all that strong right now. And I want them to get nice and strong and grow nice and big and give us plenty of squash. So you just move the dirt up around that one, make sure that it gets supported. So let's step back and take a look. So here we have our raspberries, and over here we have our butternut squash. We've got two and two butternut squash. And then over there we have our Georgia candy roasters. And then right over here we have our butternut squash. And as we continue to plant things in here, what you call this is a food forest. Instead of being like a farm field, we're actually going to grow food right in here amongst all these trees, and that's called a food forest. That way we just walk in here and pick what we want. We don't have to worry about weeding and doing all kinds of stuff. It's got sunlight, but there's enough shade that it won't burn the baby leaves, and it kind of just grows naturally here. Okay guys, well, we will see you later on. Bye-bye. Hey, I wanted to let you guys see how the corn's coming along. You see Papa B's got a sprinkler in there watering it, and that's so important that it gets plenty of water right after we've planted it, and it's still trying to grow and get strong. Look at Jack and Mackenzie's corn right over here. It's the biggest corn in the field right now. Look at that. I gotta dodge the sprinkler. And all my little strawberry corn is getting bigger, I can see. And the black corn is growing nice and strong. I think we're going to have a good corn crop this year. Hi, Tank.